The man who controlled 90% of America's oil. The story of John D. Rockefeller. Imagine one man controlling 90% of all the oil in America. A man so rich that his fortune represented 2% of the entire US economy. A man who started with 50 cents a day. His name, John D. Rockefeller. And what you're about to learn today will change the way you see money, business, and power forever. Part 1. A poor child with a con artist. Father, July 8th, 1839. Richford, New York. A small town, a modest family. John was born to a strict and deeply religious Baptist mother, a woman who taught him discipline, prayer, and frugality. Every penny mattered, every action had consequences. But his father was a completely different story. William Rockefeller, nicknamed Devil Bill by his neighbors, was a traveling salesman of fake medicine, a high-level con artist. He disguised himself as a doctor and sold oils mixed with laxatives as miracle cancer cures. He disappeared for months at a time. He lived a double life, one wife, one mistress, two families. He even secretly married another woman in 1855, committing bigamy. And yet, this man proudly told his sons, "I cheat them every chance I get. I want to make my boys sharp businessmen." John watched everything, recorded everything, but he drew a radically different lesson from that chaotic childhood. Not fraud, not lies, discipline, order, absolute rigor. At just 13 years old, he kept a notebook he called Ledger A. In it, he wrote down every cent he earned and every cent he spent. Nothing escaped that ledger. It became his first tool of power. At 16, he landed his first job as an assistant bookkeeper at a trading company in Cleveland. His salary, 50 cents a day. He wrote the date in his ledger, September 26, 1855. He would call it Job Day for the rest of his life. Every year, he celebrated that date more than his own birthday. Because for Rockefeller, that was the day his real life began. Part 2. When he saw black gold before everyone else, 1859. An event shakes all of America. Oil has just been discovered in Titusville, Pennsylvania. It's a frenzy. Thousands of speculators abandon everything to start drilling. The country goes crazy. Prices explode. Money flows everywhere. John D. Rockefeller is 20 years old. He watches the scene carefully. He observes. He thinks. And he sees what nobody else sees. He sees chaos. Drillers stepping on each other's toes. Crude oil prices collapsing overnight. From $13 a barrel to just a few cents. He sees men becoming rich in 1 week and bankrupt the next. The real wealth isn't in crude oil, he realizes. It's in what comes after. It's in refining. In 1863, at age 24, he invests in a refinery in Cleveland with a few partners, not to speculate, to control, to turn that raw black liquid into clean, stable, usable kerosene, into light for millions of American homes. And in 1870, together with his brother William, Henry Flagler, and several others, he creates the Standard Oil. From day one, his strategy is simple. Reduce costs as much as possible, eliminate every unnecessary middleman, and control the entire chain, from production to the final customer. While his competitors chase quick profits, Rockefeller thinks 10 years ahead, 20 years ahead. He's playing a completely different game. Part 3. The Monopoly Machine. And now, here's how he crushed everyone else, because this is where the story becomes truly fascinating. First weapon, the railroads. Rockefeller understands that the real cost is transportation. If you can move your oil cheaper than your competitors, you win every time. He approaches the major railroad companies with a simple proposition: I guarantee you massive, steady, predictable volume. In return, I want secret discounts on my shipping rates. The railroads agree, and they go even further. They charge extra fees to his competitors to compensate. The result? His rivals pay more than Rockefeller to transport the exact same oil on the exact same train. They don't even understand why they're losing money. Second weapon, speed. In 1872, in just 3 months, Rockefeller buys out or destroys 22 of his 26 competitors in Cleveland, 22 companies. In 3 months, those who refuse to sell are undercut until they suffocate financially. Rockefeller can afford to sell at a loss for months. They can't. This becomes known as the Cleveland Massacre. Third weapon, total integration. He manufactures his own barrels. Competitors have to buy theirs elsewhere. He builds his own pipelines, reducing dependence on railroads. He owns his own tank cars, warehouses, and distribution networks. Every part of the chain he controls is one more cost eliminated and one more advantage over everyone else. By the end of the 1870s, Standard Oil controls 90% of American oil refining. It is no longer just a company, it is an empire, and Rockefeller is its undisputed master. Part 4, The Fall of the Empire, and the greatest twist in business history: power attracts enemies. And Rockefeller had many. In 1904, a journalist named Ida Tarbell publishes a multi-volume investigation into the practices of Standard Oil. She exposes the secret rebates, intimidation tactics, and unfair business practices. The country erupts in outrage. Newspapers explode with criticism. Politicians demand accountability. The government strikes back. Court cases pile up. And in 1911, the Supreme Court of the United States delivers its verdict. Standard Oil has violated antitrust laws. The empire must be dismantled. It is broken into 34 separate companies. The press celebrates. Rockefeller is finished, they say. A massive mistake, because Rockefeller still owned around 25% of the shares in each of those 34 new companies. And once those companies were individually listed on the stock market, investors rushed in. The combined value of those companies tripled within just a few years. The decision that was supposed to destroy him made him 3 times richer. Among those 34 companies, you may recognize some familiar names today: ExxonMobil, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, Amoco, giants that still dominate the global oil industry more than a century later. In 1916, John D. Rockefeller officially becomes the world's first modern billionaire. His fortune surpasses $1 billion, roughly 1% of the entire US GDP at the time. In today's value, that would equal more than $300 billion. No one before him had ever reached such wealth. Part 5. The man behind the fortune. But here's what most people don't know about Rockefeller. The man who controlled a global empire lived simply. He wore his suits until they were worn out. He repaired his shoes instead of buying new ones. He disliked luxury. He disliked showing off. He was deeply religious. A lifelong Baptist, he donated 10% of his income to his church, starting from his very first paycheck. Not symbolically, literally. Every donation was recorded in his Ledger A. And as he grew older, he began giving on an entirely different scale. He founded the University of Chicago in 1892, now one of the world's most prestigious universities. He created the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research in New York. He funded public health campaigns that helped eradicate hookworm disease across the American South. During his lifetime, he donated more than $500 million to educational, medical, and religious causes. As a child, he had one simple goal: earn $100,000 and live to 100 years old. The first goal, he exceeded it by nearly $1 billion. The second, he almost made it. He died at age 97 on May 23, 1937, at his winter home in Florida. What Rockefeller really teaches you. So what's the real lesson here? Rockefeller was not a saint. His methods were often ruthless, sometimes illegal. He crushed competitors. He intimidated entire families whose livelihoods depended on their refineries. If you found this story powerful, make sure to subscribe, because every week we bring you the untold financial histories that schools never taught you. And drop a comment below. What part of the story surprised you the most?